So I just wanted to make a little video about the elections and the results. This is I don't know how short it will be or how long it will be because there's not much of a script. This is just kind of a rant from the heart. Just want to put some things out there because I'm seeing a lot of people getting too desperate. I'm seeing people getting a little too comfortable, and it's it's strange. Like it's something that I don't know. I don't know if we can even like make a prediction just yet. I mean, I haven't kept up with like campaigns and anything like that. So, 'cause before you ask, I didn't vote. I'm not American. But if I would, then I would have been not a winner. To put it that way. Um, However, I just want to think about like just want to help like clarify some things with people, like trying to talk some things out because again, I feel like we're a little too shocked, and I don't know how much we're gonna be able to do from just being shocked. Right, we need to actually like digest this and find a way to move on and find new ways to thrive. Honestly, because depending on how good or how bad it's gonna be, we will never be fully prepared for it. That's one thing. So being terrified is understandable, but being paralyzed by despair is um, something that you should you should try to get yourself out of this situation in a way where it's not it's not easy, of course, and it's easier said than done to just like, oh, just don't be desperate about it. But the idea is like, what can you do, right? Because these kind of situations, it's like you don't know what's gonna happen, you don't know how much you're gonna lose, how much you're gonna how your situation's gonna be, and like I said, like I think for now, at least, maybe the calm before the storm, we we might be able to find some ways to at least like brace ourselves moving on, but also in a sense of um, not losing ourselves in that way, because again, we don't know. It could be worse than we think. It could be better than we think. So we're just theorizing all these things, right? Some things might come to fruition, unfortunately. Some might not, and I think that's what's important to think about um, right now, because there were moments where the powers were balanced, I guess, quote unquote, in our favor, and not much got done. So um, there's always the off chance that they might not get as much done now that it's in their favor. So don't lose all the hope just yet. Don't lose the hope, period. But it's understandable to be desperate, but keep this in mind, right? There's always um, an off chance. Like we can't really predict the future. A lot of times we also try to make things worse than they are, and especially in scary times like this, it's very easy to get into that mindset. But it's just an idea of um, understanding that it's not 100% gonna be worst case scenario um, at all times, right? There could be um, other interests at play, even with them all in charge. There could be some infighting. There could be some other interests from corporations and whatnot that could change the balance, or at least um, cap some of the things that they want to push. And that's the thing. Like, it could be cope, like you could call it cope. It could tell me, I'm just coping hard and all that stuff. But I genuinely think that at least this is the healthiest way to see it, instead of just doomsdaying everything, or just thinking, nah, it's not gonna be that bad. Like, it could be bad, but it could also not be as bad as we think. Like, we could think it could be the worst thing ever, but it could also just um, not be as bad. Like, it's gonna be bad eventually, like, regardless, but maybe not as bad. Um, and another thing I want to talk about is I think this election really helped. I hope it opened up the eyes for a lot of people who thought that in the system there were people who were actually trying to help you, and like um, trying to like want they are on your side. They want to show that they're on your side, that we're trying to support you, and it was more of a show than like an actual um, platform that you could get behind. Um, so I hope that at least it opens the eyes for people who think um, this that there is a way within the system, or like at least someone in there will favor you, instead of like finding out that we're kind of on our own in that sense, where we need to support each other. We need to find the change like within us. We can't just really sit back and hope people who are deeply embedded in the system to um, fight it out. Even if they wanted to, there's a lot of like grimy shit going on in there to not let that happen, and like, or delay it and everything like that, which again could also be used for the moving on, for the new terms that are gonna come in, that could face similar slowdowns and halts in their processes. We don't know yet, but that's the thing. Like, now I feel like this is kind of like learning through pain, that they're not really out there to help. Like, you see in the campaign, like from the bit that I saw in the campaigns, there was not much of like a support for, or at least there wasn't I don't know, like soul behind it. Like, there wasn't really it didn't feel genuine, the support, at least in my opinion. Like the way they got behind progressive movements and women's rights, all that kind of thing, it felt very performative in that sense. So I can understand some of the people not feeling like they would want to vote for that, or at all. Like, they could feel like underrepresented in that sense. And I don't, and from like just the way they planned and strategized and moved throughout the campaign, it wasn't really, it felt like they were just sitting on the pile of, we're not them, so you're gonna vote for us. Like, you're not gonna vote for them, right? So vote for us. And that really doesn't sell at this point anymore. Like, it worked back then because we were in the middle of a pandemic, things were getting scary. Now that doesn't cut anymore, and I hope that's something that every party that has this idea, or like that's their main goal behind it, like the main strategy point behind it, that they will at least um, think twice about just using that and just sitting comfortably on this. And for the people who want to vote on that, to realize that you need to demand more from that. You can't just settle for this, vote for us because we're not them, because they're gonna keep you in a survival vote for as long as they can. So it's just some of that, like hard lessons that all this shock is gonna teach us. And coming from a country where political corruption and all grimy shit happens, like, since I know myself as a person, since I've Even before I was born, it was pretty much like, most of the history of the country was like that. Um, it's interesting to see that happening in the U.S. Like, in something that you wouldn't really think they would get to that point, but they did. And it's also another thing that I feel like it's going to be a tough lesson. It's going to be something like, Americans aren't used to being, too focused on communities. It's a very hyper individualistic society and all that. Because, and especially because I think there wasn't any of these, collective hardships. Like, you see community work being done by the minorities because they've been through the hardships, but now the hardships could reach farther than just the minorities, and it could be a more widespread, generalized hardship. So if it got to this point because, multiple reasons, a lot of neglect from the people who were supposed to be, the protectors from all this, for whatever reason they neglected that. And now it's more of like, okay, this is, I mean, it happened, it's shitty, but there is a way out. There is, it's not going to be the end of the world. It's not going to be, the end of your life. You're going to be able to rise above, but not just yourself, you and the people around you. That's what's the important thing. It's not going to be, um, just one person that will rise up and solve all these problems. And I hope that's, um, something that people will learn in this time with all this. And yeah, and like, reach out to your communities, strengthen yourselves, hold up, because, everything's temporary. Um, Again, it's not worth like losing yourself over this. Like, if there are people against you, that's one of the things I want to also talk about. Like, a lot of people felt very, um, had a lot of like existential dread, and, with that lack of hope and despair that came with, and it's very understandable again. But think about this, like, if if you can't muster any hope or will to go on, um, for yourself, do it out of spite. You know what I mean? Like, your existence is resistance. The longer you live, if the people want you, if the people want you gone, the longer, the more hours you do in the clock in this world, like, the more you own up to them. And, you know we will keep going on. There will be ways to live through this and to come out of this. And maybe now we'll actually have, like, legit people who actually care, and, and want to put change in motion, positive change in motion, that will actually care for communities, care for, you know um, people as a whole, not just one certain group of people and whatnot. And it's one of these things, like, it's in the toughest times that we get, the that's when we get the strongest, because, whoever comes out of this, and for as long as we can make out of this, we're going to be stronger at the end. And we're going to learn that, all the mistakes that were made previously, how hard they can, punish us for it, and how bad they can be, and learn from that history, from this recent history, that, the past history is constantly being changed or erased, but this is something that we lived. Every life has a history lesson attached to it. So, keep living on, keep writing your history, keep, um, being part of this, and your existence is resistance. That's what I'm keep living, keep existing, keep resisting. That's the main goal. keep up with other people and all that. Like they now we're gonna have to create like a safety net for each other in that sense, so we don't get taken crushed and all that from whatever powers might be, or whatever scenario we end up facing. And that's it. It's us now. It's more obvious than not that we gotta hold each other's hand and hold up one another. If the person you're holding hand trips down, then you pick them up, and then when you trip down, they'll pick you up, and that's how we're gonna keep moving forward. So keep the hope up. Don't let the doomerism like take over you. Don't let them just ruin your mentality, your mindset, your mental health. Take care of yourself. Do what you can. For now, like focus on something that you can do. Focus on something that you can get some progress on, so you can actually look back at it and feel better about it and feel like you have some control. And keep searching for communities, help, and all that, because I've seen a lot of people talking about getting communities stronger, working with the community. So that's definitely something that will hold the hope up for everyone, and we all need to play the parts in it. And this is for not just for the US, not just for Americans, because this is a widespread phenomenon. This is global. So from anyone in any other country in the world that is facing some similar political scenarios, then all of this also applies to you. Okay, so thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening to this. Let me know what you think. I'm more than happy to hear opposing opinions, because I really want to get a proper perspective in all this. But I think this is maybe the healthiest perspective we can get on. Like, don't lose your mind. Don't get too comfortable either, but just play by ear. Let's see what happens, and whatever happens, we'll get through it. All right.